The lingering political face-off between Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike and his predecessor, Rotimi Amaechi, is far from over, as both men are not letting down on their determination to run each other down.
Well, the battle has grown vicious and more personal as they have continued to use every given opportunity to castigate and even blame the other for the problems in the state. It seems we have
this report to play to you, but we certainly will play that. But let's bring in the let's bring the spokesperson of the APC. That's the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State. Chris Finebone joining us now from Port Harcourt. Good morning. It's good to have you join us now. Can you confirm?
Thank you for having me.
All right, now, fine. Now, we have been talking about this issue since yesterday. Now, it's good to have your side of the story today. Now, make us understand. It seems the rift or the face-off between the governor of the state and the minister of transport, it seems that their face-off is taking personal dimensions rather than dimensions of issues.
Well, I wish you would have enough time for me to debunk a lot of the noxious, obnoxious, and toxic narratives that were, disseminated here yesterday by a certain gentleman. I think it is all part of a grand design by the governor of this state to, in the short term, prevent the presence or prevent the appointment of Rotimi Amaechi into the federal cabinet. That didn't work. That failed woefully. And so they are in the strategic plan of completely obliterating whatever he had done, completely pouring tar on him, so that he will be seen in bad light in the eyes of Nigerians. But that is not gelling at all. It's not working. Every now and then, what you hear is about sale of power plants. And they forget so easily that even the federal government has sold theirs. And even when the federal government sold at $358,000, their power assets at $358,000 per megawatt, Rivers State sold at $800,000 per megawatt. Nobody is talking about that. Nobody is talking about the huge taxpayers' money that was spent in building these power plants. Nobody is talking about the fact that legislations and laws of the country did not allow the state to evacuate these powers for the benefit of the taxpayers whose money was used in building these stations. Nobody is talking about that. Nobody is talking about the fact that even federal government has sold their own assets. And so you begin to wonder whether it is beyond the capacity of those who are in power here now to understand these things. You don't need rocket science to understand that power assets are being sold even by the federal government. And so there was need for state government to stop the hemorrhaging, the bleeding that was happening. At some point, the state government under Rotimi Amaechi was owing Shell and Ajib 7 billion naira on gas that was bought to fire these power stations. Laws of the country did not allow the state to evacuate these powers for the benefit of the taxpayers whose money was used in building these stations. Nobody is talking about that. Nobody is talking about the fact that even federal government has sold their own assets. And so you begin to wonder whether it is beyond the capacity of those who are in power here now to understand these things. You don't need rocket science to understand that power assets are being sold even by the federal government. And so there was need for state government to stop the hemorrhaging, the bleeding that was happening. At some point, the state government under Rotimi Amaechi was owing Shell and Ajib 7 billion naira on gas that was bought to fire these power stations. Power stations, the state government.
The decision to sell the power assets
beyond being in alignment with that of the federal government to sell theirs, was informed by the fact that the River State taxpayer should not be subjected to that kind of situation where his money has been spent to build the station, his money was being spent to manage and maintain the station, and his money was being used to buy gas, expensive gas. Maintain the stations, and his money was being used to buy gas, expensive gas from the producers to fire the stations, but the taxpayer had no access to the power that came out of that. And so when people don't consider all of this and they just go out because there is a
all right, Chris, let me come in here so that you get a chance to, respond to all the questions. The governor, Nyesom Wike, said that the former governor, Rotimi Amaechi, admitted to paying about $39 million for one Justice Caribbean White Mega Specialist Hospital, and that hospital was never built. Tell us your own side of it.
That is simply simplifying it to the level where they found it very convenient to confuse the ordinary man in the street. It's very easy to bandy that kind of narrative to the man in the street and the fellow buys it. But that is not true. No such amount was paid to Clinotech, if I got the name right. What happened was that when the governor came into office in October 2007, he already, for someone who had planned, who had his blueprint for development of River State, he didn't waste time in, kicking off. So he had his plan to transform River State and Port Harcourt specifically into a world-class mega city. And that is what informed the idea of Greater Port Harcourt. That informed the idea of so many things he did. Dualizing of all the arterial roads in Port Harcourt, simply to turn the place city of the next century. But the governor, fired by same zeal, got his hands in all of these things so that this River State will be transformed in the shortest possible time. Well, when you go to the marketplace to buy, and if you show a lot of enthusiasm, you are likely to get support from those themselves. But there may be one or two fellows who may have alternative objectives. There may be one or two fellows who might not want to do things the right way. The issue of Clinotech was one that infuriated the
In other words, are you saying that former governor never paid any such amount, $39 million for a concocted hospital? Is that what you're saying in essence?
And if you see the propaganda video being disseminated around, distributed around where the governor makes it, you don't just pay, there are processes to this thing. And so you don't, by the time you are into a partnership, there are protective vows in that process that will guard against you being duped. There may be small windows that can be utilized if your partners are not sincere. That is given. But then it will come in that large dimension where you will just make one huge payout and somebody runs away with it. No. Generally, I mean, you will just make one huge payout and somebody runs away with it. No. Generally, I mean, let me just say this. The issue of Clinotech was one that also angered the governor at the time. And he did take measures. I mean, the police files are there. Government is a continuum. If the present government here now in River State, led by Nyesom Wike, feels so serious and so strong on the issue of Clinotech and the Caribbean White Hospital, government is a continuum. Let them pick up the files and pursue this case the best way they feel they can, and not to begin to, because one, I am very sure, I'm 100% sure that they cannot pin anything untoward, anything like an underhand dealing on Right Honorable Rotimi Amaechi concerning the Clinotech or Caribbean White Hospital. No, never. They know it. That is why they are not doing anything about it. If they are worried, like the former governor was also worried about certain things the partners did, Let them pursue it. The files are there.
All right,
and
Chris.
That takes us to the issue of handover.
Chris, let me ask you this. The point there is, we know that Rotimi Amaechi as well as Nyesom Wike, they used to be political partners. Where did it really go wrong? Is it the issue of being in different political parties now, or are there some personal things that the public is not even aware?
It is not.
Okay, it is not. All right, yeah.
Nothing, absolutely nothing. The only thing is, look,
okay.
Here is a...
Go ahead.
Let me explain this. Here was a man who ruled this state for 8 years. Here was a man who ruled this state for 8 years. And looking back, even before he came to power, Dr. Peter Odili ruled this state for 8 years. And there is this issue about dichotomy, the riverine and the upland. I know, I conducted an interview with late Marshal Harry, who explained to me why they had to decide to choose somebody from the upland, and that was Dr. Peter Odili, to be governor. I know what he told me. Now, Dr. Odili did 8 years. Chibike Rotimi Amaechi did 8 years, both from the upland. That is 16 years. For a man who is so fair-minded, he felt that power should shift so that that conviviality, that unity will continue amongst Rivers people. So he was of the opinion that power should shift after 16 years to the riverine area. So at least the party would look at candidate aspirants from the riverine areas and let party flow let powers flow to them, so that the harmony that we enjoyed in this state will continue. But as soon as he aired it, and the present governor as chief of staff then, or even as minister, because he pushed him to become minister, when he had it, and he had already made up his mind to rule Rivers State as governor, he didn't like it. And that was the beginning of the feud you see today. All of what is following, anybody can tell you any story, but that is the genesis, the very background to the feud you find today. No more.
All right. Now, the Judicial Commission of Inquiry set up by the governor of the government of Rivers State to look into the sale of valued assets of the state under the watch of Rotimi Amaechi found him guilty and said that somehow he should pay about $53 billion back to the coffers of the state. Are you saying this is also a concocted recommendation?
Totally concocted. And if you, as somebody, as a media person, I'm sure you go beyond the TVC. I'm sure your sister station recently carried on a network the story of those who midwife the concoction of that story. And that is Livingstone Wike. If you do your research, you will find out that he has come out to own up, to give in to the pressures on his conscience that he was being used to concoct and fabricate stories against Right Honorable Chibike Rotimi Amaechi. First, to stop him getting into the Federal Executive Council. Then secondly, and more strategically, to destroy him politically. Something they will also fail in. And so, that story is sheer bunkum. It has no basis at all.
That from you, so we get clarification. But as we round off now, what would it take to reconcile this men, the two of them who are supposed to work in progress for River State? What would it take to bring them together?
It will take a decision by the main gladiator today, that is the governor sitting here, to decide that Amaechi isn't his problem. It will take a decision and a commitment from the man sitting as governor here, that's Governor Nyesom Wike, to decide that to rule Rivers State, for Rivers State people, in fact, deserve more of governance than politics. It will take the governor to decide that all of these things that are not even working should not be continued by him. If he opens his arms and does a lot more of governance and less of politics, gradually everybody will see it and people will rally around him. But when he believes that we are still in 2015 and this 2015 should continue and dovetail into 2019, all of these things will be happening. He will be he's the main gladiator. He's the one that is making the accusations. It looks like we are the ones responding. But I came here with facts and figures about everything. Unfortunately, very soon you will be thanking me for coming because there will be no time. Otherwise, I wanted to completely debunk all of those narratives that we are displayed today. I mean, yesterday. So.
All right. I wish you could see me right now. I'm smiling because when we had the spokesperson of the PDP yesterday, when we asked him the same question my partner just asked you, he said that it would take all the will on the part of Rotimi Amaechi to work with the governor, that the governor was ready. Now, you're telling us that it will be the governor that will be ready to work with him. So don't you think it would take people around these two men to kind of bring them together, back together, to work for the common cause of the state that belongs to all of you?
Like I will have to repeat this. It behoves on the governor to realize that he is governor. What you probably read or heard last week about revoking a CFO of a hotel here tells the story. There's a man that is on CNN canvassing for investors to come to Rivers State, and he's taking such actions. Let him simply sublimate himself. Let him simply come down to serve Rivers people. Let him simply know that politics should wait till 2019. Let him face governance. If he faces governance today, everybody will rally around him. But if he continues playing politics as if we are still in 2015, we will have no choice than to dance with him.
All right, Chris Finebone, spokesman, APC, River State. Thank you very much for talking to us this morning on TVC Breakfast.
For your time. But the reports we got about that hotel is that it's still functioning and has not been closed.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.